I have worked with thousands of piano players from all over the world, and these are the 5 most common mistakes that 99% of piano players are making. Now, these mistakes are going to slow your progress significantly, and they're going to ensure that you are unable to play with freedom and musicality. Now, I'm not going to leave you hanging in this tutorial. I'm going to give you the 5 most common mistakes, but I'm also going to give you tips and tactical tools to overcome these mistakes. Let's dive in. The first mistake that 99% of piano players make is immediately diving into complicated repertoire. Now, don't get me wrong. In general, I'm very encouraging of people playing pieces that inspire them and that they're really excited to learn. But when you jump immediately to super complicated repertoire, you often overlook really foundational concepts that are going to be really important for your development as a piano player. So it doesn't matter if you're studying with a teacher or if you're studying on your own. If you have aspirations of playing really complicated repertoire, you can jump right to it and you can get started on that repertoire. But while you're doing that, or if you want to move a little bit slower, before you do that, go ahead and do some of these things that will help you develop those foundations. So one of the things that you can do is you can get an adult method book. There's some really great ones, and I'll link to some in the description below. One of my favorites is the Faber Adult Piano Method, and you can use this for the first few years of your piano study. The nice thing about adult method books is that whether or not you have a teacher, these method books have a concrete trajectory that they follow, and they don't skip any of those foundational concepts. And so you could work on a really complicated piece and also spend a few minutes a day working through this adult method book, and it would make sure that you didn't have gaps in your knowledge as you went along. You could also practice sight reading at a really simple level every single day. So the idea is that you have this longer, more complicated piece that you're working on, and it's going to take you many months to get there. But in the meantime, every day, you're sight reading new material. This is a great way to continue to improve some of those foundational skills while also working on those complicated pieces. A great way to do this would be to check out my course, Secrets to Sight Reading. The waitlist is currently open, and I'll link that in the description below. And one thing that I like to remind piano players is that if you have aspirations of playing really complicated repertoire, or maybe you've even been at it for years and you don't want to slow down, you don't want to go back to those easier pieces, the worst thing that's going to happen if you practice sight reading at an easier level, or if you go back to the method books and you work on pieces that are too easy for you, is that you're going to be wildly successful. Right? And it's really important in your piano studies to have a balance of challenge, but also little successes that you can celebrate every single day. And so working on challenging pieces alongside simpler pieces from a method book or sight reading every single day can be a really great balance, especially for adult piano players, because you get the challenge, but you also get those little successes that you can celebrate every day. And that is a huge confidence boost that will keep you coming back to the piano. And in addition, it solves that main issue that we talked about where you don't get those big gaps in your knowledge as you go along. The second biggest mistake that 99% of piano players are making is that they're not paying attention to their setup. If you are not sitting at the correct height at the piano, your posture will be incorrect, and that's going to set you up for injury, incorrect piano technique, and all sorts of terrible things that you don't want. When you play the piano, your ability to control your dynamics or the volume or the kind of tone that you get from the piano is all about the weight of your arms. And you cannot fully experience the weight of your arms dropping into the keys with the variety that is needed for dynamic changes unless you have the proper setup. And when we're talking about the proper setup, we want your elbows to be at a 90-degree angle like this. And so if you are sitting too high, your elbows are going to be more straight. And if you're sitting too low, they're gonna make this V shape. And so you want to have them make a 90-degree angle. And look at yourself in a video or in a mirror. And if you notice that your elbows are not at a 90-degree angle, you need to adjust the height of your bench. So you either need to go higher or lower until you find that 90-degree angle. We're talking about distance from the keys. Once you have that 90-degree angle, you want your fingers to rest gently on the edge of the keys, and you want this part of your arm to be parallel to your torso. And so I have this nice uppercase L shape. If I'm too far away, then my arms are going to be more straight. And if I'm too close, I'm going to have this awkward angle right here. Now, if your setup, your piano positioning is not correct, then chances are you are also guilty of mistake number 3. Quick announcement, on September 11th, I will be teaching a 4-day free class called Piano Practice Lab, where I'm going to help you design a weekly practice routine that will accelerate your trajectory towards playing beautifully and musically. You can join for free using the link in the description below. Can't wait to see you there. Third biggest mistake that I see 99% of piano players make is that they have an incorrect hand position. And I went over mistake number 2 first, because if you are guilty of mistake number 2, there is no way that you can do your hand position correctly. So you have to have mistake number 2 fixed before you can fix this mistake. Now, when you are playing, you want your fingers to be rounded and you want them to be on the edge of the keys. So oftentimes adult piano players will get stuck up here because it feels more comfortable, because you can feel where you are. There's more anchor points. But the best control actually comes from being on the edge of the keys. You want your fingers to be nice and rounded, not flat. And you also want them to be glued to the keys. So when you play, every single finger rests on the key and none of them fly up into the air. So this is what it looks like when you're doing it correctly. There's not a lot of movement in the actual fingers. And this is what it looks like when you're doing it incorrectly. You can see that my fingers are moving around a lot, and it makes a lot more work than there needs to be. If your fingers are lifting as you play every single note, you will never be able to play with fluidity or speed. It's just not going to be possible, because playing the piano musically and with that freedom and flow is all about minimizing the movement of the fingers and using the other parts of your arm to help you make the gestures that you need to create the sound. I talk about this a lot in a video that I did that's all about piano posture, and I'll link that in the description below. And if you're getting value out of this video, go ahead and give it a thumbs up, share it with a friend or with an adult piano community, and hit the subscribe button and hit the bell so that you don't miss out on any of the content that is released regularly. The fourth biggest mistake that 99% of piano players are making is thinking that technical exercises will fix your technique. And this is a huge misconception, because when it comes to technical exercises, just by the name, it sounds like they're going to give you better technique. But technical exercises will never inherently improve your technique. And in fact, you have to have proper technique and a really good understanding of what the technique required is for the technical exercise in order to get any sort of benefit from it. If you are making mistake number 2 or number 3, you should not be practicing technical exercises, because if you're not set up correctly and your hand position isn't correct, you do not have the proper piano technique required to play technical exercises. Now, this is one that you don't want to mess around with, because if you are playing technical exercises with improper technique, it often leads to injury and it can actually harm your progress at the piano. 60 to 85% of piano players experience pain at some point in their journey. And 90% of the time when I encounter someone that has pain in their playing, it's because of improper posture or setup. Now, this is something that I work really closely with people on inside the Casual to Confident Piano Player program, because I get to watch you play. I see your setup. And oftentimes people think the solution to something is like this big, huge solution that's going to take a lot of time and a lot of practice. And sometimes that is the case, but more often than not, when it comes to not being able to play something as fast as you want to play it or as smooth as you want to play it, it's actually an issue with technique. It's actually a really small tweak that once I see you play, I can say, oh, okay, well, instead of doing this, move your wrist this way. And then all of a sudden, people are able to play with much more freedom and much more speed. At the time of recording this video, enrollment is closed, but it's going to be opening soon. And so go ahead and check out the link in the description below. Either get on the wait list or join if enrollment is open, because it only opens a couple of times every single year. And that way we can get inside a virtual classroom, I can see you play, and I can help you fix all of your technique issues for good. The fifth mistake that 99% of piano players are making is skipping counting out loud or rhythm in general. This is a huge mistake, because rhythm is not just about being able to play things in time. Oftentimes people think of rhythm as just simply interpreting the note values correctly. And if your only job is to interpret the note values correctly, then sure, you don't really need to count out loud, and you don't really need to pay that much attention to the rhythm once you know how it sounds and you can mimic that sound. But that's a huge misconception. Rhythm is actually about organization. Rhythm is a framework for your brain to organize complex information. And if you're not counting out loud, really what's happening is you are not giving clear signals to your hands about where they need to be and when they need to be there. And this means that you're going to have a lot of issues like lack of accuracy, or those little hiccups or pauses in your playing, like those little stutters that you can't get past, Those often stem from not counting out loud because your brain is having trouble processing where it is right now, but also what's coming up next. Counting out loud ensures that your fingers know exactly where they need to be and also when they need to be there in relation to all of the complex information in the piece. Don't skip counting out loud. It is not too late. Even if you think you're bad with rhythm, even if you think the metronome is awful and it's your worst enemy, it is not too late. I'm going to link a rhythm live stream that I did in the description below. Go ahead and check that out, and I go over some really great rudimentary exercises of how to get yourself acquainted with the metronome and how to start counting out loud. And if you're not already a part of my free Facebook community, go ahead and get your booty on over there. It's an amazing group of people, and we're gonna be doing some live events coming up here in the next couple of months. Lots of content in there that's not here on the YouTube channel. I can't wait to see you there. Happy practicing.